Hey everyone, welcome back. Icon here. Thanks for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. As we hop into today's video, we are hopping on board with SCUMP as he and the Chicago Huntsmen go to battle against Methods, Metals, the rest of the guys over at Toronto. So before we actually get into the analysis here, one thing that I do want to point out is that if you're wondering why I picked this one, I solely picked this map just because it's been a while since we've really talked about St Petrograd. The other reason why I picked it is because Chicago didn't win a map. They lost every single hardpoint. They were 0-5 over the course of the 5 hardpoints, and they were 0-2 in the domination maps. There wasn't a single one that they actually ended up winning. Over the last week or so, I've kind of talked to you guys a little bit about how I like to pick maps that these teams win just because it's a little bit easier to talk about the flow of the map and stuff like that. But with that, I did still want to point out where they're going wrong, some things that aren't really happening all that well. And to start with here, as we talk about the actual gameplay in front of us, you can see that as it's about to rotate from P1 to P2, they actually ended up losing spawns. So if we go ahead and the mini map that's right above my head, kind of right below Seth's head, right in between there, I'm going to draw on that from time to time. And essentially, Chicago got this back right spawn back here by P4. And Toronto got the opposite spawn. They actually ended up getting the bad spawn. And as that happened, you can see that they pushed through. They immediately had 3 people go up top, right? And they all got wiped. So Toronto was unsuccessful at pushing through top P1 and getting time inside of P1 Hill. But what they were successful at was pushing mid-map and being able to flip this spawn, which is why, as we've rotated here back to P2, they have the beneficial spawn, even though they've kind of not really capitalized, right? Chicago had about a 50-point lead as it left P1. So as we're getting towards the end of P2, you can see that they've really only gotten about 25 points by the time it's all said and done of that hard point that they had the spawns. So it was a nice job there from Chicago of contesting. And now as we're about to ping pong back to the opposite side of the map as we're going to P3, it looks like Chicago is going to be set up, and what's going to be clutch for them. And again, it just happened. So let me go ahead and let me just point this out real quick, because every once in a while I do want to stop and point things out. These are 2 really big kills. You can see that Envoy and Arcedes just went down in the kill feed. And essentially, so we're looking at Scump. He's back here in P3. Those 2 were the ones holding down this middle area of the map. So since they went down, what that means is that now those gun battles are going to be happening right around the hill. So whoever ends up winning those gun battles is going to be securing time inside of this P3 hardpoint. So when it comes to holding down hardpoints like this, it's not only important to be inside the hardpoint and get time right, but it's also super important to be pushed up on the opposite side, because now you can see Cammy with the 2-piece, Methods got 1. And now when Chicago is still getting these spawns just because the spawns are super sticky in this game, but that's not what's going to end up winning you the game, right? Not just having spawns. You really do have to dominate mid-map, especially when you're on a back hard point like this. So now as it's about to rotate, these last 13 seconds or so are going to end up going to Chicago. But again, now it's just the reverse. It's going to ping pong back to the opposite side of the map. It's going to go back to P4. And this is the exact same thing, just on the other side. If you're Toronto, you want to get as many kills as you can mid-map before Chicago can push through and actually get pressure on the hard point. And it seems like they're being pretty successful at it, right? If you're watching where Scump's at right now, he's inside of P1. So no, they're not actually inside the hard point, but you can see that it took them 15 or 20 seconds to get through P1 before they could actually get inside the hard point. And that was just a little bit reckless. Everybody just sprinted through the front door. It does look like they did get this back spawn, though. So now this is where things have to reset, right? If you're Chicago, you have to slow down. 4 just went down again. We'll see where Scum. So they're still kind of getting this beneficial spawn back here. But this is a point in time where you can bring this back if you don't overreact. I don't necessarily love Scump going into P5 already, because if his team gets wiped, now the rest of them are going to spawn beside him. Let me go ahead and just draw this on screen real quick, because this is kind of something that you might not understand at first. When Scum came up off spawn, he spawned over here. And essentially what he did is he went mid-map, he went into P5, and now he's kind of hanging out in top P5, right? When the rest of his teammates flanked around and they went back P4 trying to secure time back here. The reason why I don't love that play is because if they're not successful at pushing out P4, now Chicago is going to spawn over here near mid-map. And if they're spawning mid-map, that means that Toronto has control of this back spawn over here. And if you have control of this back spawn, this is the spawn that you want not only for P4, but also for P5, for P1 on second set of rotations, and for P2. So I don't necessarily love this. I know that they wanted to get control of the current hardpoint, and with that kill right there, oops, I just realized that I still have a couple marks on screen right there. But with that kill that SCUMP got on P5, it kind of secured them the first little bit of that time, but he got slayed out. And now as they're going back to P5, I know that they're starting to lose the lead, but this is where you can't overreact, right? You just have to do your best to slay out, finish these kills, but you have to hold those back spawns. So again, as this is rotating to the second set of rotations here in the next 35 seconds or so, P1 and P2 is where you can really start to turn things around and regain on this map right here. So just kind of keep that in mind, that everybody's really pushed up. What I'm watching in the minimap in the top left-hand corner is that everybody is just selling out for the current hill. Not quite sure why SCUMP didn't get that two-piece there. Those shots looked pretty nice. But again, I'm just kind of watching that, and it does seem like they were able to overrun the hill, but did they risk the chance of flipping spawns? Even this, I don't love this from SCUMP, because again, if all of his teammates die, you just saw it. You literally just saw it. Look what... So I get what SCUMP was trying to do. Again, I'm going to draw on the minimap and kind of right above my head up there. They got control of P5. They had one person back blue courtyard. SCUMP pushed through, and essentially what he was trying to do is he was going to try to push, he was going to try to pinch Toronto as they were going to enter P5. But what happened is everybody inside the hill for Chicago ended up dying. So since that happened, if SCUMP's the only one that's left, what spawns are they going to get? This spawn back here. So the fact that he went on a pinch, if everybody stays up in the hill, it's a good idea because they're going to get the rest of that time. But essentially now what happened is they're going to be spawning out for P1 and eventually for P2, and that's what's most important, is the spawns as they rotate back to P2. Cammy with the two-piece up there. Looks like Seth put a little bit of bullets in the back of Arcedy's. So as this is about to unfold, I do want to listen in here. So the best part about scrims is that we can hear exactly what they're talking about. I'll still chip in where I feel that it's useful. But with that, let's go ahead. Let's turn up the team comms. Let's hear exactly what they're talking about as we go through the second set of rotations here.
Bro, I'm sorry. They're actually playing on lane. You guys need to see what's happening to me. What the fuck?
He got me.
Go river. Go
He's
dead.
Go in, good job.
Another one probably blue dump.
I'm hitting river right now.
Ultimately, one thing that I do want to point out is that we could talk about kills and, you know, not being in position and the wrong strategy and wrong philosophy. We could talk about that stuff all we want, but a lot of times I've been looking at the kill feed and they're simply losing the kill battle. So yeah, they're out of position and stuff like that, but they have to start slaying out. That's a good start. Formal with the two-piece, SCUMP, Envoy, Arcedy's, all those guys in the kill feed.
Getting court, please.
Yeah, I'm in court. I'm in court. I'm trying. I'm in court.
Prop R spawn maybe?
They could be prop R2, yeah.
Rail, top blue, dead. One more, court on me.
Another one hotel.
Court on me.
One thing that I'm looking at right there is they lost control of blue courtyard. So if you lose control of blue courtyard, let me show this again. I know I've been pausing it a lot, but I really want you guys to understand this. So if they're spawning back P4, if this is where Chicago's spawning, and Toronto's spawning over here near water, then essentially what's happening is that you're forcing them to enter one of these two routes, right? But if they flank around and they get control of blue court, now all of a sudden what that does is there could be somebody on this head glitch. There could be somebody on this head glitch. There could be somebody pushed up to this area, right? So essentially what happens is by losing control of blue courtyard, that makes it much harder for Chicago to push up and get in, not only get inside the hard point, but also get control of this lane, which is stopping Toronto from entering P2. So just something so simple as just losing a little bit of map control. Again, SCUMP, Scump trying to get over to P2. It's just not happening because they lost control of blue courtyard.
He's literally just sitting at that fucking truck, dude.
Dead.
One more court.
You can hear the frustration sitting in also. Again, this is the 5th map that they've played, and they had a lead here, so it probably started off thinking, okay, this is where we turn it around, and then they ended up losing, and now they're down by 60, and they're spawning out as it's rotating back to the opposite side of the map, and you can just kind of see the frustration building up and boiling over.
I'm trying to hit. Keep right. I got
me. Middle.
One shot.
Dead.
Beat him.
One more line.
I got beat him.
I'm trying to go track right now. Trying to go track.
Right.
I'm dead.
Right.
Another track. Peeking.
Yeah, we'll beat him.
Track. Still track.
And this is just a great job of Toronto. They're holding down. Look at all these battles that are happening mid-map, right? This is what we talked about on the first set of rotations. If you have control of P3, you want to get those kills, those engagements, those gun battles at mid-map. If you get them at mid-map, then essentially that keeps your enemy off of the current hard point. It's a really nice job of securing kills in the middle of the map there.
You can get someone grab time. I got it. Actually, I got it.
I'm only first.
Rusty. Two yellow variants.
So now Chicago's really up against it because Toronto can't win on this current hard point, and they can get back into it, right? If you're talking about if they were to get 60 points here as it goes back to P4, they could definitely do that, but even so, it would be 190 to 245. They'd have to also win the rotation back to P5. This is going to be super tough.
Respawn front bar.
Side door again.
And it already happened. So just real quick, I know this is coming to a close, but essentially what happened is if they're in P4, if you have control of this back side of the map, then essentially what's going to happen is your teammates are going to spawn right here. But since when Scump died, he spawned over here at front bar, right? That's what he was calling. Then what that means is that Toronto was able to push up either blue courtyard or all the way up through Water's Edge up to P2. And if that happens, now all of a sudden you've lost spawns. So my guess would be at some point in time in the next 37 seconds on this hill, it's probably going to be overran, and they're probably going to win here.
Absolute side, absolute. Two from here.
I'm going arch, bro.
Backdoor, dad. Got him. Pushing up back.
Backdoor, I just flashed myself.
Backdoor. Another one there. Could help.
That is a nice job. Look, there's a team wipe right there. Formal got 2, Gunless got 2, Envoy got the last.
You guys, I'm new. What's top blue medals?
I'm in the back right now. I'm trying to block.
We're still spawning here.
One's blue van, classic. Blue van, one bullet dead, got him.
I'm new, I need help.
One's useless, I think. Back P2.
That was a nice pinch there from Toronto.
Yeah, I'm mini front. First guy blew up.
We can't win him.
You can flood.
You can go top, maybe?
Yo, pitching court, deep court.
On top. They're going around.
Court, I'm staying up.
Yeah, keep watching that set. Keep watching.
River.
Two.
And that's probably going to be all she wrote. 3 down, 4 down, last one, and then RC's goes down, so that's going to be all she wrote.
That was a good try.
I will say it's a nice job of not giving up there, right? It was 245 to 130, so they got the last, 70 points or so before Toronto was able to get the last 5. So at least they didn't give up, right? At least they kept fighting as it rotated back to P4 and then finally back to the middle in P5. I do want to see the scoreboard here just to kind of see who performed and who didn't. Scump with 22 and 27, not probably the best. Envoy also with 22. I can't see how many deaths. Looks like 26 or 28, something like that, but look down below. If you're looking now, Metals had a bad game, but 34 and 21 from Bance. And if you're talking about just the slaying department, then obviously that's where it came through, and that's where the difference was made. So a little bit of a rough day for Chicago. Again, this happens, right? Sometimes you have off days, some days you have bad days. It is what it is. Now, if you're a Toronto fan, then this could be maybe a little bit encouraging for you. We'll see what happens with the next event. We all know that it's going to be online. But good showing here from Toronto as they went 7-0 on the day against the Chicago Huntsmen. Real quick, before I go ahead and wrap this up, if you guys want a place to play, a place to team up, anything like that, there are now over 100 people in my own personal Discord. It's the first link down below. So I'm on there playing Warzone every day, looking for people to play with, get wins. There are always people. There was like 300 messages today, people looking for 10s to join up with and compete. So if you want to do that, that's there also. So if you're new around here and you like this video, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you have any comments whatsoever, put them down below. I love the interactions and I try to get back to as many people as I can. Leave a like before you head on your way. And with that, guys, thank you so much. I will check you in tomorrow's upload.